It's in other countries, largely made in China, a lot of it made in Ireland. Ireland was very smart. We love Ireland. But we're going to have that.
You may wonder why we're playing a clip of Donald Trump. Well, let me tell you. Geography at Leaving Cert level can cover everything from coastal erosion to volcanoes to colonisation and economic geography, including terms such as tariffs. We're delighted that Andy Levis, geography teacher at Midleton College in County Cork, is back with us this year and joins us from our Cork TV studios. Andy, can we go through the exam? What is on the menu here?
Good afternoon, Maura. So the exam itself is split into a number of different sections. The first section is on short questions, and on the short questions you can have a number of different topics, ranging from physical to regional to map work, also earthquakes, volcanoes and statistical interpretation as well. This is worth 80 marks. You answer 10 out of 12 in the first section. And I often say to my students, it's a good way to sort of get into the paper. They're shorter questions, you can fill in the blanks, you match up different things, you read bodies of text and decipher them. The map work is key though, because there'll be at least 2 if not 3 questions on map work in that section. So that should take about 20 minutes as the first section. Then you're going into part 2. This has 4 different parts to it. The first part is physical geography, where you have 3 parts to a question. They're split into A, B and C. So the A part is more skills based. You could have a sketch map to do. You could get an infographic or a body of text to decipher answers from and to answer on. That's 20 marks. Then the B and C's are more examinations of topics. They're delving more deeper into topics like earthquakes, volcanoes, isostasy and the such like. You'd be looking to write about a page, maybe 2 pages onto that. So we're quite significant in terms of the amount of text you're trying to get in. Ultimately, the students are trying to get 15 SRPs, which are significant relevant points. It's they're factual pieces of information. They can be a statistic, they can be a process, things like that to get those marks. So they're 30 marks, adding up to 80 for, they do 1 question in this section, but they can also actually do 2, given the accommodations that are still in place since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay, so
the next...
Yeah, go ahead.
The second section then is on regional geography. This is a fascinating topic because you do a number of different countries in the world. You have Ireland, Brazil, India, the Paris Basin in France and the Mezzogiorno in Italy as well. Same layout here, you have A, B and C with the skills-based section in part A. You could do a sketch map of the area that you're talking about. And again, B's and C's are going to be more of an examination of a topic.
Okay, so part 1 then, the 12 short questions. You say that the examiners here are looking for more than just definitions. They require interpretations. Tell me about that.
So yeah, I suppose what you're looking for really is, for example, in a volcanoes question, you might get a diagram that's not labelled but has arrows pointing to it, and you'd have to fill in the blanks on that one. Other ones then you might have statistical interpretation, where you get a body of text and it would talk about maybe an earthquake or something like that, and have a lot of different information regarding that. Also, you could have maybe population with statistics on that, and then they would ask you to critically evaluate what you're reading and to actually put in a bit more detail as to what you see in the text. And then the last question in these, there's usually 4 questions in these kind of questions. The last one is usually your opinion on something, whereas the first 3 would be something that you've read in the text previous. So it's not just about definitions, it's certainly more about you showing what you know about the topic in a bit more detail than people might realise.
Then for part 2, the first section, the physical environment, what kind of maps should you be familiar with and how should you be practising for this section?
Well, you'll be given an ordnance survey map and an aerial photograph with your paper. They usually ask you to do a sketch map of the ordnance survey map in this section here. So it could be any town or a built up area or rural area even for that matter, in anywhere in Ireland. And you could be asked to draw it to half scale. If the question is asked you to half scale, then you literally just have to draw it half the size that you're given it on. It's an A4 sheet size they give you. So you literally draw it to that, half size to that, and then they'll ask you to put in 4 or 5 different things, like a river or a railway station or an area of high ground. What's crucial here is accuracy and annotation. So by accuracy, I mean putting the area of high ground in the right area of the map and labelling exactly what you're drawing. You can use colour here, plenty of different colours, but I would usually advise my students to be as accurate as they can using a combination of pencil and colours. But the annotation and the labelling is key here to make sure they get full marks on it. And they have to put a little key or legend at the bottom to say what the blue colour represents, maybe a river, or what the black line means, maybe a railway line or something along those lines. But accuracy and annotation here is going to be key.
Okay, and then the second section is regional geography, where you're asked about different parts of the world. So what kind of things are people typically asked here to do?
There's a number of different regions that are studied. Take, for example, the Paris Basin. You have also the Mesogeiano, Brazil, India and Ireland, of course. They're examined from a number of different perspectives. So you would have climate and relief be one area that they'd focus on. Then they'd move on to primary economic activities, secondary economic activities, tertiary economic activities, and then population dynamics. So whatever region that you're talking about, all of those areas are going to be discussed. Some of them will be in primary in the Mesogeiano, or you might have the secondary in Paris Basin. They'll mix it up. There's no guarantee to say primary in Brazil is going to be on it, for example. So you will just quite simply have to know the topics, I'm afraid. Okay. And there will be a sketch map of an area as well. It could be any one of them as well.
Okay, and I mentioned tariffs there, and this is where the third section. These can be elective, but they're very topical. So talk to me what typically is asked here.
So when you're looking at this here, the same layout is going to be A, B and C. The more skills-based part is A, where you get maybe 6 or 7 short questions to answer on a body of text or an infographic. Then B and C are the essay-based questions with the examinations of the topic. Typically what will come up here will be things on globalization, multinational corporations. So to go back to your tariffs excerpt there of Donald Trump, you're looking at the American corporations that have set up shop in Ireland as a result of the low corporation tax rate. So you're looking at the EU policies behind that. The tariffs that have been introduced by Trump recently, which are going to be returned in kind by Europe, as I understand it. Colonialism, you're looking at renewable energies, location of industry. They will also link in the aerial photograph and the ordnance survey map here as well to maybe ask you questions like where would you set up a multinational corporation in the area shown on the map or on the photograph and things like that. So again, it's about 15 SRPs as well here, Maura, where you're looking to get 15 SRPs of those in factual piece of information, geographical phrases, processes and statistics really. So statistics would be key here. For example, the corporation tax rate of 12.5% recently gone up to 15% in Ireland, and how that contrasts with other European countries and on a global scale also.
And then the fourth section is the human environment. What's meant by that?
So humans is a study of people, demographics, population sizes, where people live, where people don't live as well. All of these kind of things, urban land use, rural land use, where people are choosing to use land for what different reasons they're using them for. Again, it's the same thing here. You've skills based for A, examination of a topic for B and C, more detail in the last 2 sections there. But it's mainly population dynamics, urban change, and rural and overpopulation in urban areas too.
Okay. Andy, you're throwing a lot of stuff at me there. So what should I study between now and June?
It's a very broad-ranging topic, as you well know. What I would advise students to do is to pick their favourite topics and know them very, very well. So if physical geography is your niche, then you should be looking to look at earthquakes, volcanoes, isostasy, mass movement and things like that. If regional is the area you like, pick the area that you like the best out of the ones I've listed previous and know that inside out as well. And do that for every different section within the paper, because what you'll find is if you do that, you'll be able to write more on that topic because it seems to be something that interests you, and invariably you'll be able to write more on it because it's something that you're interested in and that you're well in good knowledge of.
And what are the timings for this exam?
So, yeah, the timings are very, very significant here. You've only got 2 hours and 50 minutes, which sounds like a lot of time, but ultimately it's actually not. The short questions at the start will be about 20 minutes, I would be suggesting. Then for each long question thereafter, of which you'll be doing 4, you wouldn't want to be going over 40 minutes. I would certainly be saying 35 minutes if you can for the 4 long questions each. That will give you maybe 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes at the end to read over things or to answer questions that you maybe left off that you had to think about more and to put an answer in for, or add extra detail into other areas that you maybe left blank as well to make sure you beef it up to ensure the 15 SRPs are attained.
And do you need any special equipment to bring into you with this exam?
Nothing special, just your usual number of pens, pencils, ruler, calculator for different statistical interpretations as well. But timings is really going to be the crucial thing to get across to students here. The stationery is very important, obviously, as well, but to stick to the timings that you can, because if you don't, you may run out of time by the end, which is a very frequent occurrence in geography from what I've seen from my invigilating days. Supervising the exams in the Leaving Cert, you see a number of pupils writing to the end and a number leaving quite frustrated and even emotional because they haven't been able to finish the paper because certain sections took longer than they anticipated.
Okay, be strict with your timing then. And what if your map drawing skills aren't great?
As long as they're accurate and annotated, that's labelled, then you'll be fine. It doesn't have to be anything like Picasso or Monet might produce. It just has to be accurate, putting the right things that you're asked to draw in the right place on the map, and that it's labelled very clearly. You'll be given 16 marks for actually doing the mechanics of drawing this, and then you'll be given 4 marks for its overall coherence or its accuracy. So accuracy is very important, and of course you will lose marks if you don't annotate and if you don't use graph paper for these as well.